Welcome to Open Range. I'm your host, Gary Emineth. Today we're going to be talking to Lee Brainard, a Bible prophecy and also an author who spent quite a bit of time in Harvey, and I wanted to get his perspective. There's been a lot of stuff going on about the end of the world and prophecy and TikTok and social media, and I did a while back a show with Lee Brainard, a historian, professor, and I wanted to follow up a little bit because Lee, being from North Dakota, having spent at least a season of his life here in Harvey, North Dakota. It's local. I think he's got stuff. He travels the world speaking on Bible prophecy conferences. And I thought I just would do one more segment. There just seemed to be a lot of people interested in the spiritual side. Actually, since this Charlie Kirk thing, I've heard a lot of people just say, hey, I'm starting going back to church. There's something happening in the world I got to get my head around. So I think it's important to have Lee on. And then we're going to finish up the show with a healthy living tip by Dr. Jake Schmitz. So I appreciate you joining us today for Open Range. So Lee, welcome to Open Range.
Well, thank you for having me on the program. It's a wonderful opportunity to talk to fellow North Dakotans about things that many don't think about enough, the things of God and what the future holds.
So Lee, before we get started, tell us a little bit about yourself, because you were in Harvey for a season. You said, I think, maybe 14 years or so. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I was born in North Dakota in Valley City. We moved to Montana when I was a young child. I spent most of my growing up years in Montana. We returned when I was in high school, and I went to college in North Dakota, met my wife there. We raised our kids in northern Wisconsin, but we ended up returning to North Dakota, and we lived in Harvey for 14 years. We just moved to Oklahoma.
Okay, so you are a North Dakota native, and so you understand a little bit of the North Dakota roots. You know, we tend to be a lot of Lutherans and Catholics up here, and occasionally you'll find a Bible church on the corner or Assembly of God or some Baptists. But, you know, the reason I wanted to do a show like this, Lee, is so many of my viewers maybe aren't necessarily evangelicals, and from the Protestant vision of what I would say just end time stuff. There's so much talk about the tribulation and Armageddon and the rapture, and I sometimes think it's good to have those kind of conversations, because people maybe start thinking about more serious things about life when that happens, and many of them I think are I don't want to say wrong views, but misguided, maybe I should say, but they don't understand it. So maybe you can just give us some clarity from your perspective of what we're looking at, because you're traveling, you said, speaking at a lot of Bible prophecy conferences. Can you talk to us a little bit about that and what some of your topics will be?
Yeah, well, first of all, just to talk a little bit about the need of the hour, we see a lot of crazy stuff going on, and it's getting worse and worse. It has a lot of people beginning to wonder if maybe they need to revisit their Christianity or investigate Christianity for the first time. The best way to do this is simply to pick up a Bible and start reading the New Testament. Read the Gospels through a few times, then read the rest of the New Testament. Start to get your mind wrapped around what Jesus is saying about his first coming to die for the sins of the world, and his second coming to bring the world the salvation that he promised in the first place. The second thing is, I love to talk about these subjects, and I travel around the world. I talk about the coming tribulation, the coming Antichrist, the end of the world. And the end of the world isn't like it's going to cease to exist. The end of the world is simply the Lord coming down here, cleaning this mess up, taking the trash out, draining the swamp, and turning this world into what he intended it to be in the first place. He is going to dwell amongst his creatures. So prophecy doesn't have to be a scary subject, because there's a lot of blessing on the other side of the scary.
So part of your point is maybe it's time to reflect a little bit on who you are, what you're about, where you came from, and what life's going to look like when I'm no longer here on this earth as a human being in this physical body. And so that's what you're doing, is calling people to get maybe more reflective and get serious about some things.
Well, absolutely. You know, the average American, at least historically, would regard themselves as a Christian. Maybe they went to church most of the time. Maybe they went to church all the time. Maybe they were just like some of your average churchgoers who go to church on Easter and Christmas Eve for the candlelight service. But no matter where you are in that spectrum, there is a God in heaven. Jesus Christ literally did come down to earth. He died for the sins of the world, and it's through faith in him that we receive his offer of eternal life. And this age that we live in is going to end in a time of judgment called the tribulation. There's going to be a literal Antichrist. And then the Lord's going to bring a literal kingdom here on earth. And people need to think about these things. The best way to think about them is actually just to read the New Testament for yourself and let God talk to you.
So, Lee, when you look at people, I've been around people that have a conversion, come to Christ, and I will use the term born again. I don't always like it because it's been abused and used too much. But when that happens, all of a sudden people get serious and they start saying something happens in their life. They feel something happen. Then they want to get into the book of Revelation and they start looking at Bible prophecy because all of a sudden they're serious about some of this stuff. So the challenge is, how does someone approach looking at the end of the world? Because if you read Revelation, I mean, it's a challenge, right?
Yes. Well, Revelation is a difficult book. There's no doubt about it. But it wasn't written or given to us to conceal anything or to make it really impossible to understand. It's called the revelation. That means the revealing. And he said right at the beginning of the book, I'm giving you this so that you can understand what's coming upon the world at the end of the age. So if we do this, we end up having an obligation to actually be a Bible reader, because the understanding of the book of Revelation really hinges on your understanding of the rest of the New Testament and your understanding of the Bible message as a whole. Revelation is God taking everything he said he was going to do in the Old Testament, the New Testament, bringing it to a head and finally delivering it to the world. And it's a glorious message. I'm looking forward to the day when the Lord Jesus is here on earth and we don't have all this political infighting anymore. There's one political party. His name is Jesus. We don't have this religious infighting anymore. There's one religion. His name is Jesus. And that religion has one denomination. His name is Jesus. And we can get ahead of the curve by simply reading the Bible with childlike faith and trusting that if Daddy said it, that's exactly what it means.
So, Lee, this whole idea then, what you just told me, is it shouldn't have to be something we're dreading or fearful of because of this whole idea of this big battle of Armageddon. Talk to us a little bit about what that means.
Yeah, well, there's definitely some ugly stuff coming. You know, we have this talk about the rapture is going to happen and people are going to vanish from around the world, and then the world's going to go into a time of tribulation. And that time of tribulation is going to get worse and worse until all the nations on earth are gathered together for the battle of Armageddon. In that battle, they're going to be gathered against the nation of Israel. They're going to be gathered against the God in heaven. They're going to be gathered against Jesus, who they know is descending from heaven. And what in the world possesses them to even want to fight God is beyond me. But that's what Armageddon is. And this brings a lot of fear to people. But if we're going to look at it from a more relaxed biblical perspective, a rational perspective, this is like going to the hospital to get your cancer removed. It's not fun to go to the hospital. It's a little bit intimidating and scary. And yet you're going to be way better off with your cancer removed than with leaving that cancer in your body. And that's exactly what Armageddon in the second coming is. The Lord's going to come down here, remove the cancerous sin, remove Satan and all of his fallen angels, remove everyone who doesn't want Jesus to be the king of their life and to be their savior. And then we get to enjoy a blessed eternity with God.
So, Lee, there's a lot going on around the world in the Middle East with Israel. And so you see, I talk to a lot of friends that just really haven't never connected that Israel is the Israelites from the Old Testament, and they don't understand it. And Israel became a nation in 1948, so there's this gathering of the Jews. Can you talk about what that means to the average person who watches the headlines and says, here's about Hamas and all these atrocities? Talk to us a little bit about that from your perspective.
Yeah, sure. If a person would just actually sit down and read through the Old Testament from Genesis to Malachi, read it through 2-3 times, you're going to gather this amazing picture that God was dealing with the nation that kept backsliding, kept rebelling. That nation is Israel. And he comes to a point where he says, you know what? I'm going to put you aside for a while. He's not going to put them aside permanently, just temporarily. He's going to go deal with the Gentile church, and then he's going to return to Israel. So he's going to gather Israel in her unbelief, bring them back to the land, deal with them in the land, run them through a time of tribulation, bring them to repentance, going to let them face the trial of the Antichrist and show them how corrupt they are, and then redeem them just like he redeems us in the church age, and give them all of their Old Testament promises, the land promise, the temple promise, the throne promise, the kingdom promises. This is the glorious God who makes glorious promises, and he keeps his promises. This is the same God who makes promises to the church and is going to fulfill his church promises. We serve an amazing promise-making, promise-keeping God.
So Lee, we're going to go to the break, and when we come back, I want to talk a little bit about that, because it sounds like to me what I'm hearing you say, that we ought to have hope in this, and we ought to be positive if we have things straight in our life. And so maybe you can, when we come back from the break, you can give us perspective. So I'm out there watching, I'm a Catholic or Lutheran or some, I just don't go to church, I'm kind of an agnostic, and I'm saying, what does that mean? So how do I do this? So I'm going to ask you when we come back to help someone out there get their head around what that means. So we've been talking to Lee Brainard, who's a Bible prophecy professor, author, formerly from Harvey, North Dakota native. I'm your host, Gary Emineth. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Stop out to our facility, Highway 22 South. Let us build a truck for you.
Hello and welcome to the MHA Interpretive Center. It's the perfect stop along the Lewis and Clark Trail and the cultural hub of the Mandan, Hiraadza, and Arikara Nation. Nestled along the shores of Lake Sagaguia in Newtown, North Dakota, 1 mile west of the Four Bears Casino. You can enjoy amphitheater performances, art exhibitions, and educational workshops utilizing our Living Cultural Center. Enjoy some coffee, browse our gift shop, and learn about the original people of this land. Learn more at mhanation.com/interpretive center.
Welcome to Arrowhead Cleaners. Newly renovated, modernized, and ready to make your cleaning needs hassle-free. From commercial and residential wash and fold laundry services to the latest in professional dry cleaning techniques, we are dedicated to your unique needs, offering alterations, fabrications, and even custom hat making. So whether you're a busy professional, a family on the go, or even a rodeo champion, Arrowhead Cleaners is here to take your things from messed up to dressed up. Now celebrating our 64th year in Arrowhead Plaza.
Home on the Range offers a nurturing place for teens who may have just come from an unsafe or traumatic environment. Here, they receive therapy and education services centered around animals, and the surrounding nature provides opportunities for work, fun, and healing. Life skills learned at Home on the Range are carried with residents when they return to the community with new talents and a greater appreciation for themselves and others.
Are you dealing with arthritis, nerve and back pain, dry skin, or superficial wounds, but found no relief? Give Stewart's Natural Health a try. For over 4 decades, Stewart's Natural Health has been helping people and animals with herbal and natural oil lotions, ointments, and creams with a mission to help you relieve pain and feel your best using the power of nature. Discover the safe, drug-free solution to your pain, guaranteed or your money back. Visit stewartsnatural.health today.
West River Equipment of Mandan is here to help you maintain peak productivity in your operation. As an authorized dealer for many high-quality equipment lines, we have the new and used equipment it takes to make your farming, ranching, or construction operation profitable and efficient. West River Equipment also has the parts on hand and the experienced technicians in our shop to get your equipment back in action fast. Find what you need at West River Equipment on Old Red Trail in Mandan.
Welcome back to Open Range. I'm your host, Gary Emineth. Dr. Lee Brainard, a Bible prophecy conference speaker, authored books, lives in Oklahoma, formerly of North Dakota. So Lee, I got a question for you. Before I get in to have you help someone get their head around how do I not be fearful of this and what does it take for me not? I saw a while back Larry Ellison, richest guy in the world, he just passed Elon Musk and made a comment recently. He's been obsessed with how to live longer as a human. And he just says, I just don't get this thing like death. He goes, 1 minute we're here and 1 minute we're not. And so people, he's 81, worth $360, $70 billion. I don't know what that all means. But Larry's done that. Peter Thiel, there's these guys in the tech world kind of obsessed with the Antichrist. And you see in TikTok, it's really high rapture, world, end of world, tribulation. So that's really why I wanted to have you on, is to talk and kind of put some context around this for someone that's sitting around rural North Dakota or somewhere watching this show to try to get their head around what this all means.
Yeah, well, we're actually living in an era where we can't know the day or the hour the Lord's coming. It's not possible. The Bible's very clear about that. For instance, in Matthew 24, 36 through 44, we can't know the day nor the hour. It's going to steal upon us like a thief in the night. And yet, that said, there's stuff going on in this world that to anybody that's got their eyes opened even a little bit, you can see the stage is being set for the last days. The stage is being set for the tribulation. The stage is being set for the mark of the beast and the Antichrist. The stage is being set for Gog and Magog, that war. The stage is being set for the big brother government, the totalitarian government that's going to be here under the Antichrist. We see all this stuff happening. And so when you come to men like Peter Thiel and Mr. Ellison and some of these other guys in the tech world, they're also got their mind racing 90 million miles an hour about the fact that they don't want to die. They want to live, and at least if they can't live forever, to at least extend their life many centuries. So they're looking at DNA enhancement, DNA manipulation. They're looking at all kinds of advanced technology. They're looking at maybe even downloading your brain into like a pseudo-human being or a robot or a transhuman or anything of this nature. So there's some bizarre ideas. What's interesting about this is a tremendous opportunity for men to say, hey, something's really going on here. This is out of the normal. This is abnormal. There's really is a spiritual battle going on. And it should bring them to think about Jesus and the Bible and to lead them to read the Bible.
So when you look at that, Lee, and I'm sitting out there listening to this stuff, and I have not heard this stuff before. I mean, I have, but I'm just saying if I'm out there as a viewer of Open Range on Beck TV and go, what in the world? How can I, what do I need to do so I don't have to be fearful of this type of thing? I mean, what is that? I mean, I go to church Sunday, I'm a good guy. I try to follow the 10 Commandments. Does that get me there?
Absolutely not. And this is the bridge that every individual has to cross, whether they're Catholic, Protestant, non-church going, Baptist, Pentecostal, it doesn't matter. Somewhere along the line, you have to cross the bridge from either not being a Christian to being a Christian, or cross the bridge from being a church-going Christian, and I'll put that in air quotes, to someone that actually has a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. They're not the same thing. You can go to a strong church or a weak church every Sunday for your whole life. That's no guarantee you're going to be in heaven. We need a relationship with Jesus Christ. This relationship comes through being born again. You're born again by the Holy Spirit and the Word of God. It's through faith in Jesus. It's a personal relationship. If you have this is 10 times more important than what church you go to. And we're not saying that's not an important question. We're just saying that having a relationship with Jesus Christ is way more important than church attendance, church membership, catechism, baptism. You have to be born again. If you're not born again, you will not go to heaven. If you are born again, you can have a mess up on your catechism, mess up on your church membership, mess up on your church attendance, but if you're and be baptized or not the wrong way or not at all. But if you're born again, all those mistakes won't matter.
So Lee, For the average viewer out there, what makes Jesus different than Muhammad, Confucius, all these other people that, have started world religions or have been part of some movements like that? So what's the difference?
Well, a couple really, really important differences. One is Jesus is the eternal Son of God. He is fully and truly God. And the one that we talk about, when we talk about Jesus, he left his glory in heaven, came down here, he took the form of a human, he took a human body, he became a human. He is now a human forever. Now, this is a glorious thought because there is a man sitting in heaven, a man who is 100% human being and 100% God, so that we have a bridge to connect us to the infinite, unfathomable God in heaven. We have this connection. And what a blessing this is. Now, no other religion on earth has a Savior that is God himself manifest in human flesh. Every other religion has a prophet that's a fallible human being sent to them, or they have a philosopher sent to them. Christianity, Bible Christianity, has Jesus as God manifest in flesh. Now, the second area where it differs is that every other religion on earth, and even many religions that fly under the banner of Christianity, is works-based. You have to do certain kind of religious works and good works to be clear, to be in heaven or to reach nirvana or whatever you're trying to reach. Bible-believing Christianity, it's not works-based, it's faith-based. You trust in Jesus Christ and his finished work on the cross with his death, burial, and resurrection, that he's the high priest in heaven with his blood on the altar in heaven, able to forgive unto the uttermost all that come unto him. This is salvation. So no other religion has God manifest in the flesh, and no other religion has God himself paying the price for entry to heaven.
So let's talk a little bit about the resurrection. Now, that's what kind of makes things a little different, doesn't it?
It sure does. Absolutely. When you look at all the great leaders of all the other religions on earth, Muhammad, when he died, he stayed in the ground. When Buddha died, he stayed in the ground. Nimrod, when he died, the founder of the Babylonian mystery religions, when he died, he stayed in the ground. All these great men, when they passed away, they died, they stayed in the ground. Basically, they turned to dirt. But when Jesus went into the grave, he didn't stay there. 3 days later, he rose from the dead. Now, this isn't just this cool little story that you read in a mysterious book. You look back and you look at the historical records. There were thousands of people that saw Jesus Christ raised from the dead. There's been a number of books written by people who started out trying to disprove the resurrection of Jesus Christ. Men that were attorneys, men that were investigators, men that were detectives, and they started weighing the evidence, and it became so overwhelming they were forced to conclude this would pass in a court of law. This is absolute definitive proof. And they were convinced that Jesus Christ was raised from the dead, and they became believers themselves. A fascinating story. So no other religion has a resurrection from the dead of their leader. Absolutely unique.
So, Lee, when you look at the idea of this thing they call the rapture, can you give us, we got a couple of minutes before the break, would you explain that from your perspective? And when you go to these conferences and you speak about it, what does that mean?
Well, to understand the rapture, you have to understand that there literally is a time of judgment coming upon the world. We call that time of judgment the dawning of the day of the Lord. We call it the tribulation. We call it the wrath of God. Before this judgment starts, the Lord is going to take every true believer out of the world. We see this in 1 Thessalonians chapter 4. We see it in Revelation 3:10. He's going to take the believers out of the world before this judgment comes. And if you're a born-again Christian, it doesn't matter if you go to a solid church or a mediocre church or no church at all. If you're born again, you will go up in the rapture. You be with the Lord in heaven during the time of tribulation. And what a great blessing this is. You get to be delivered from the time of judgment.
So you get taken up, this tribulation comes on. How long is this? And can we talk just a little bit about what that tribulation window is?
Yeah, the tribulation is going to be about 7 years long. It's going to involve all the judgments of the book of Revelation, the seals, the trumpets, and the bowls, as well as the thunders, which are not described, just mentioned. The first seal releases the rider on the white horse. This is a picture of the Antichrist. And the Antichrist is going to be the great big trial of the entire tribulation time. The whole world is going to be forced to choose between the Antichrist and the true Christ, the false Messiah and the true Messiah. And that's going to be the great battle. Everything else that happens is just a giant slap upside the head trying to get men to wake up and weigh what's really going on.
So, Lee, we're going to go to the break. When we come back, I want to talk about a number of your books. You've got a book called The Pre-Tribulation Rapture, The New Heavens, The New Earth, The Russian Ruin, The Rendezvous, The Rogue, all kinds of books. I'd like to dig into that a little bit and help people understand how they can learn more by going online and finding some of this stuff. Because if I can't get to a conference you're preaching at or teaching at in New Zealand or Australia or Germany, at least I can maybe get some stuff in your writing. So we've been talking to Lee Brainard, formerly of Harvey, a Bible professor and on prophecy and author. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Base Flug Trailers of Dickinson is a family-owned dealer with expert staff that know their products front to back. We stock over 150 units of all types and can custom order a trailer with the unique features and capabilities you require for brands you can trust. Our experienced service team is the reason we're also the best place to have your trailer customized or repaired. Count on Base Flug Trailers of Dickinson to keep you hauling.
Are you looking for something special or one of a kind? At Bassett Motors, we can help you find exactly what you want.
Come on in and experience how small-town hospitality and personal service can make car buying a pleasure.
We know interest rates are important to you. We have multiple lenders to negotiate your lowest payment.
Visit us on Highway 281 in Carrington, North Dakota, and online at BassettMotors.com. Bassett Motors, where our customers send their friends.
Yeah, U.S. Cattlemen is a member organization that each member has a vote in anything we do with policy. We're representing the independent cattleman or the cow-calf guy or an independent feeder or whatever. We like to support the independent producer. We're talking about mandatory ID, we're talking about cool, we're talking about all the legislation that's going to be coming down with the new administration. There's going to be lots of moving and shaking, so always check us out at our website, uscattleman.org.
I'm $27,000 in credit card debt.
Okay.
You have to radically do something different, because if you keep doing what you've been doing, you're going to keep getting what you've been getting.
Now's not the time to be doing math. The time to be doing math was when we didn't go into $200,000 of debt.
If you are freaked out and you're stuck in these debt payments and you think it has to be a part of your life, it doesn't.
We are ladies of another view. Join us every weekday morning at 9 o'clock a.m. as we discuss the big topics from North Dakota, the nation, and around the world.
We chat with everyone from celebrities and medical professionals to politicians, local business owners, and neighbors about the topics and stories that affect all of us.
We are unscripted and uncensored real news from real people. So join us every weekday morning for Ladies of Another View on Beck.
Welcome back to Open Range. I'm your host, Gary Emineth, talking to Lee Brainard, who is a Bible prophecy professor, traveled the world speaking at Bible conferences. And so, Lee, I just want to, you've written a number of books. And so let's talk a little bit about them. One about the pre-trib rapture and just kind of these end times. Give us a little bit of some background on those books and how people can find them.
Yeah, my two best-selling books. The first one is called 10 Potent Proofs for the Pre-Tribulation Rapture. And it's just 10 arguments why there really will be a rapture of the believers before the time of tribulation. And it's at a very simple level. It's a short book, about 100 pages, walks through 10 arguments. The second book that's really popular is Recent Pre-Tribulation Rapture Findings in the Early Church Fathers. And there I just demonstrate that the pre-tribulation rapture isn't something that was newly discovered. You know, people say, well, no one ever heard of the pre-trib rapture until the 1800s. Well, this isn't true. There were early church fathers that actually taught a pre-tribulation rapture. So those are my two best-selling books. The book that I wrote that I enjoy the most is called The New Heavens and the New Earth. And it just walks through everything in the Bible on the subject of the promise of the new heavens and the new earth, because we are held out a promise in the Bible that in the future we get to enjoy a new heavens and a new earth. And the question is this the current creation ceasing to exist and getting replaced by a second creation, or is it God renovating the current creation by fire and earthquake? So I walk through that whole subject in that book. But then I also have my fiction books if you'd like to talk about those.
Yes, I'd love to. I see The Rendezvous, The Rogue, The Russian Run. Give us a little bit of what they're about.
Well, The Rogue, The Russian Run, or The Rogue, The Rendezvous, and The Russian Run are the first 3 volumes of an intended 4-volume set on fiction called The Planets Shaken. Now, the theory of this book is that there used to be a planet, and you read about this in ancient history, the ancients saw it, that orbited between Mars and Jupiter. So there used to be 6 visible planets that the ancients could examine and not 5. This planet got tangled up with one of the other gods because the planets were regarded as gods in ancient religion and mythology. And it ultimately exploded. The ancients saw this event happen. And those exploded fragments became the asteroid belt, the long period comets, the short period comets, the asteroids that orbit in association with Saturn and Jupiter, what we call the trans-Neptunian objects that are way out there. And some of them chunks became moons for some of the planets. So in the book, the core, and this is just a theory on my part, but the iron core of that planet is a long period comet that is now returning to Earth. It's on a collision course with Mars, and it's going to create havoc in the inner solar system with the inner planets and the Earth. This is why we read in Luke 21 that men's hearts shall fail them for fear when they see the things that are coming upon the earth from the heavens. And so that's the theory of the book. It's going to develop this happening as it's noticed by astronomers who try and warn the world. And then the series is going to end with the rapture of the church.
So these are fiction, but some of this extra planet, is this all fiction, or are there some stuff in science that actually speaks to some of the things you've talked about based on your theory?
You raise an excellent question. If you're going to go with the revisionist history and the revisionist science, the evolutionary science that we're taught in the universities, this information you're never going to hear about it. But if you actually go back and you study ancient history and you take it at face value, just like you take the Bible at face value, you are going to discover a lot of anomalous history, anomalous archaeology, anomalous artifacts that don't fit the standard model that we're taught in high school and college. And one of these things is that the ancients worshiped the planets. They worshiped Mars and Venus. Those were the 2 main gods. Mars was the male god, Venus was the female god, and they worshiped Mars as the god of war who trampled the earth, and they worshiped Venus as the terrifying 2-faced witch, sometimes beautiful and sweet to mankind, and sometimes throwing fire at mankind and burning the world up. Well, what does this have to do with what we see in the heavens right now? Absolutely nothing. We just see a little white dot and an even smaller red dot, and they're harmless, they're benign. But in ancient history, they were in highly elliptical orbits that intersected with each other. Those intersections made up all the mythologies around the world: North America, South America, Asia, Africa, Europe, the Middle East, about the gods fighting and the gods having love affairs, the male and the female god. And then it also, they'd intersect with Earth, and this brought many of the great tragedies that ended the end of the Gold Age, which lines up with the Tower of Babel and its destruction, the end of the Silver Age, which lines up with Sodom and Gomorrah, the time of Abraham, the end of the Bronze Age, which lines up with the Exodus. At each of these three times, there were massive worldwide judgments that are recorded on all five inhabited continents. So when I wrote this series of fiction, and I'm working on the fourth volume and the final volume now, I gathered together a whole bunch of ancient history, especially the history of catastrophism and the history of planetary catastrophism. I gathered up a bunch of history on astronomy, and then I added in cutting-edge Bible prophecy understanding and cutting-edge electric universe cosmology. So I had this big group of facts I wanted to communicate, and then I used that for the core information in the book, and I wrote an exciting story around it.
That's fascinating. So all three books are part of that series then?
Yes. And the order is The Rogue, The Rendezvous, and The Russian Run. And the final volume is going to be called The Reckoning.
The Reckoning. So how do they find these books? Can they just order them from Amazon, or how do they get these books if someone's interested?
Yes. If you go to Amazon, you'll find all my books for sale there. You can buy them in paperback or Kindle, but you can also get them on iBooks in an e-form. You can get them in Smashwords in e-form. You can get them in various ebook varieties around the world.
So Lee, we have about 4 or 5 minutes to wrap up, and here's my question to you. So you got this fiction books that's very destructive and it's very out there, but then you have this book that's one of your favorite, is The New Heaven and the New Earth. Talk to us about the contrast between those two in the last 4 or 5 minutes here.
Yes, well, so in my fiction series, we see the developments happening in the heavens and on earth that are leading up to the tribulation time. And then that book series is going to end with the rapture, and the world is going to go into the most devastating time of judgment and trials that the world has ever known. The Bible says, except for those days were shortened, no man would survive. So God has limited those days to 7 years because he intends to bless mankind in the coming eternal kingdom. Now, when we come to the new heavens and the new earth, we're moving to beyond this time of trial and tribulation here on earth, the time of tribulation, and we're going into the glories of the kingdom. And I'd just like to wet people's whistles with a few of the things that are going to be here in the kingdom, that maybe you would get your heart stirred and say, I want to be there. I want to be one of those born-again Christians who's going to inherit the kingdom. Because can you imagine living in a world where Jesus is the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords? Every nation on earth, and every state in every nation, and every city in every state has the same basic laws. You don't have one set of laws in one country and another set of laws in another country. There's one lawgiver, and everyone's on the same page. There's one political party, his name is Jesus. There's one religion, his name is Jesus. There's one denomination, his name is Jesus. And all of the world is in unity under him. So there's no loss of time or effort or energy due to war. There won't be any war. We're not going to have to deal with health issues, so you're not going to have loss of health. You're not going to have loss of income paying doctors and dentists, because it's going to be a glorious world where everyone either has a resurrection body or they're able to drink from the river of life that flows out from under Jesus' throne. A glorious world where the climate is moderated and men are not going to be smitten by the heat of the day nor the cold of night. There's not going to be the extremes of winter cold and summer heat. The whole earth is going to be well watered. The plowman is going to have to wait for the harvester because the harvests are so bumper crop. The wild animals in nature are not going to, according to Revelation or Isaiah 11, they're not going to harm man or man's domesticated farm animals or his farming efforts. So it's going to be a beautiful world where every problem that we face right now in a cursed world is removed, where every problem that's caused by devils and demons is removed, where every problem that's caused by ungodly men being allowed to do their ungodly things is removed. Can you imagine living in a world where there's no devil, no fallen angels, and crime is not permitted? It's stopped before it starts. That's what we're facing. That's what's coming.
So Lee, in the last 30 seconds, give us the thing that everyone needs to hear from you.
Folks, if you haven't done it before, it is time to turn your hearts to Jesus Christ and put your trust in him and take up the Bible and start reading it. This is the best gift you can ever give yourself, and this is the best gift you can give anybody else you know.
Thank you, Lee. I appreciate you joining us. If you want to Google it, your name's been on the screen, so maybe we can find you at a conference sometime where some of our viewers can get out and hear what you have to say for your back business in North Dakota. So Lee, thank you for joining us.
It's been my pleasure, and you have a wonderful day, and may the audience have a wonderful day.
So thank you for joining us, Lee Brainard. So we've been talking to Lee Brainard, lives in Oklahoma, formerly of Harvey, North Dakota native. I'm your host, Gary Emineth. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with another healthy living tip from Dr. Jake Schmitz.
Hey y'all, it's Trent on the loose. I want to tell you, Lady Blue and I, we got a lot of miles together, but you know what? You and I got a lot of miles together as well. And all I want to do is bring to you the information on how we maintain a domestic supply of food and fuel for future generations. So I'm going to continue to travel the world and unearth the stories that make it possible that we can live in a free United States of America.
Welcome to Arrowhead Cleaners. Newly renovated, modernized, and ready to make your cleaning needs hassle-free. From commercial and residential wash and fold laundry services to the latest in professional dry cleaning techniques, we are dedicated to your unique needs, offering alterations, fabrications, and even custom hat making. So whether you're a busy professional, a family on the go, or even a rodeo champion, Arrowhead Cleaners is here to take your things from messed up to dressed up. Now celebrating our 64th year in Arrowhead Plaza. Are you dealing with arthritis, nerve and back pain, dry skin, or superficial wounds, but found no relief? Give Stewart's Natural Health a try. For over 4 decades, Stewart's Natural Health has been helping people and animals with herbal and natural oil lotions, ointments, and creams with a mission to help you relieve pain and feel your best using the power of nature. Discover the safe, drug-free solution to your pain, guaranteed or your money back. Visit stewartsnatural.health today.
West River Equipment of Mandan is here to help you maintain peak productivity in your operation. As an authorized dealer for many high-quality equipment lines, we have the new and used equipment it takes to make your farming, ranching, or construction operation profitable and efficient. West River Equipment also has the parts on hand and the experienced technicians in our shop to get your equipment back in action fast. Find what you need at West River Equipment on Old Red Trail in Mandan.
Ashley, North Dakota is where life moves a little slower, but never gets dull. From hunting, camping, and fishing to safe streets where kids can be kids, this is the best of small town living. And Ashley offers everything you need, from healthcare to hardware to countless ways to stay active. Here, we've invested in our future with major upgrades to roads, parks, and education. Whether you're here for the day or here for life, you'll find Ashley's where you ought to be.
Since 1980, Circle Sanitation has been providing exceptional waste hauling services to every customer, big or small. Whether you just need reliable weekly pickup, roll-off containers for major projects at home or the construction site, or your needs are somewhere in between, Circle Sanitation has you covered. We're a locally owned family business and currently seeking dependable men and women to add to our team. Wages are competitive and benefits comprehensive. Call us today or visit circlesanitation.com.
What's going on, everybody? Dr. Jake Schmitz back with another Freedom Health Talk on Open Range. We are discussing something that I think is extremely important. And again, it's one of those things that I personally believe it gets more important as we age. And it's the concept of fitness. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to start off talking about the difference between weight loss versus fitness and which one's better and why. And too often, or often, maybe not too often, but often people will get twisted on, they'll have a goal and say, I want to lose weight. Okay. That isn't a bad goal inherently, but I would say let's take it a little bit further. And this is going to be something that I'm going to highlight multiple times throughout this segment is what's your goal? Because if the goal is to just look better in a bathing suit, you missed the boat. If the goal is to just end up with a lighter casket, you missed the boat. So what's your goal? The goal is to live a long, happy, and healthy life, able to do the things I want to do and be with the people I love. That's the goal. That's the ultimate. That should be the goal, right? And again, I'm not going to say that has to be your goal. I'm just saying from a health perspective, that should be the goal. In order to achieve that goal, there are certain benchmarks that we need to meet. Generally speaking, weight loss is one of them. But as long as the weight loss falls inside the umbrella of fitness, you're going to be okay. When it becomes the goal itself, right? So think about all those people. And again, I'm not going to vilify anybody. I just want you to understand there's an entire craze right now around things like Ozempic, the GLP-1 agonists, the hormone drugs that help people lose weight. The goal in its entirety in that scenario is to be skinnier, is to burn fat, lose weight, be thinner. Okay, that's your entire goal in that scenario is the weight. That becomes a problem because in that scenario, and we're going to find this, I don't want to make any declaratives on this, but what we will more than likely see is people dropping dead from this stuff. And again, I don't want to freak anyone out. But generally speaking, anytime you introduce a hormone-based medication, it ends poorly. It's just the way that it is. Go back over history and look it up. Any type of hormone replacement ever has ended poorly. Almost all of them. So do your own research on that. And I'm not telling you not to do it. I know it's a double negative, but make your own choice, get the facts and make your own decision. But what I want to highlight is that you can still achieve weight loss underneath the umbrella of fitness. And I will also argue based on studies, facts, and research that fitness, being fit, is infinitely better for you than your weight. In fact, fun fact, here's a study that you probably never heard of. Fun fact is that being slightly overweight, if you're in your 60s and beyond, you're actually healthier if you're slightly overweight than if you're slightly underweight. In fact, what the study did, it showed that your chances of living longer go up if you're slightly overweight than if you're slightly underweight. But what would society tell us? Well, if you're slightly underweight, you're actually better than if you're overweight, right? Because being overweight's bad, not as you age necessarily. And again, I'm not advocating for being overweight. I'm advocating for understanding physiology. So being slightly overweight as you age is actually better and healthier than being slightly underweight. So it's not about being thin, okay? I want to be very clear on that because our goal should not be a lighter casket. Our goal should be long, happy, healthy life, being able to live out our days with our loved ones. If you're going to be a grandparent or great-grandparent, I tell you what, I would love to be a grandparent someday. I mean, obviously, we'll see if that's in the cards. I would love to be around and not just be there for my grandkids, but be able to get on the ground, play, engage with my grandkids, and maybe even great-grandkids if I live that long. I think that's everybody's goal to an extent, whether we can verbalize it or vocalize it, right? So that's the goal. And how do we achieve that goal is through fitness. There are a whole I'm gonna be very reductionist, and I'm gonna say here's the way to do it. There's a lot of different things that go into this conversation, but as it pertains to fitness, you are infinitely more likely to live a long, happy, healthy life being fit than if you're not fit. Tons and tons and tons of studies corroborate this. And so what I want to do is I want to talk a little bit about fitness here over the next couple of minutes. I'm going to reference things like grip strength. I'm going to reference things like leg strength and the ability to do something called sit to stand. I'm going to reference these things and how it relates to longevity. Longevity means how long I live, right? And when I reference these things, if you can't do these things right now, all that tells me and all that should tell you is it's something to work on. So I'm not saying if you can't do these things right now, you're doomed. That's not what I'm saying. Remember, the entirety of the purpose of why I come on and do these segments is to help you. I'm here to help you. I'm here to give you that boost to get to work. Because at the end of the day, health is work. You're never going to find health in a pill. Never. Never. I don't care who's giving it to you. Health is work. It requires blood, sweat, and tears, so to say, right? You got to get to work. So I'm just going to give you a kick in the pants right now. So that's what I'm going to do. Especially if you're in that, 40s, 50s, 60s and beyond. You can get away with a lot of crap when you're in your 20s. Believe me, I did. But I'm paying for it now in my 40s. So let's talk about fitness. Now, fitness, we're talking about resistance training, whether it's weights. Now, a lot of the things I'm going to talk about is from a male's perspective. It's a little bit different for females. The stuff is still the same. It looks a little bit different. So I would cater this more specifically to males versus females. The information in the studies I'm going to reference are from males. So just if you're a female, just hang with me. It still means the same. It just looks a little different for you. And if you have questions on that, while we throw up my email, you can email me. So let's talk about grip strength. So there was a study that was done on this, and it was grip strength as it relates to longevity. And here's going to be one on as it relates to cognitive decline. So there's a lot of studies on this. So you can see right here, grip strength as it relates to cognitive decline and dementia. And what it showed was that with, I can't remember the exact number off the top of my head, but with when they compared the strongest grips to the least strong grip in the actual study, it was something to the fact of like 1.5 to 2 times more likely of cognitive decline if you have a weak grip. And grip strength in the studies is a representation model. What it means is it represents that if you have a strong grip, you have a strong body. It's not always that way, but generally, yes, that's what it means. There was another study grip strength and longevity, meaning the group with the strongest grip, when they compared it to the group with the weakest grip, the group with the strongest grip was 2.5 times more likely to live to 100 than the group with the weakest grip. That's a direct correlation. Very, very important. In fact, what they found is you're 2 times more likely to die early with a weak grip compared to a strong grip. That's important. That's important to know. Another one was sit to stand. And I've got this right here is a chart, and I printed all these out in a chart format. Chair rise or they call it timed up and go. So if I'm sitting, how long does it take me when they say go without using my hands to just get up and go? How long does that take me? So when you compared groups, the slowest group had a 2 times higher risk of death than the group that could up and go. And again, in these studies, they'll put times to it. So sit to stand is an actual test. That's a test that is performed. So if you think about it from your perspective, you go, well, I don't actually get up that quickly. And then when I do it, I got to make a lot of noise and I got to push to get up. That's not a good thing. Now, how do I work on that? Well, thank you for asking. All you're going to do is you're going to take your favorite chair, kind of slide yourself to the front of this. Now, just be mindful of yourself. Obviously, if you're a fall risk, you just got to be careful. But start where you're at, and you just work on trying to get up without using your hands. I'm going to work on just standing up, and then I'm going to sit back down without using my hands. And do that 10, 20, 30, 40, 100 times a day. If you can't do it just using your legs, then start with your arms. Give yourself a little bit of help and work towards that. Easy, super, super simple, right? You can do that. Okay, that was your chair getting up. Another one was one leg stance. So if you can't stand on one leg for 10 seconds, right? That's an 84% increased mortality risk. Meaning, if I'm standing, right, and if you need a table next to you or something to hold on to, you get yourself in, you take one leg off the ground and you let go. If you can't stand for 10 seconds, I'll go down so you can see me. I'm still balancing on one leg. If you can't stand for greater than 10 seconds with one leg on the ground, that's an 84% increased risk of mortality, meaning death. Now, did you notice how in those studies that I just referenced, grip strength, sit to stand, one leg stand, zero mention of your weight. The study didn't mention your weight. Here's an interesting one. I'm going to end with this one. Push-ups. They did a study on middle-aged firefighters, and they said, how many push-ups can you do? And they broke them up into every 10. So 0 to 10, 11 to 20, 21 to 30, 31 to 40, and then 41 and beyond. What they found was the difference between the group that could only do 10 or less compared to the group that could do 40 or more. This is wild. What they found was that you have a 96% reduced risk of a cardiovascular event, cardiovascular disease, heart attack, stroke, if you're in the 40 group versus the 10 or under. Has nothing to do with your weight. In fact, I didn't mention it at all. Fun fact, what they found in the study, though, is that as you're able to do more push-ups, what did you find? Better blood pressure, better blood sugar, better cholesterol numbers. And because again, fitness will help fix all of the other categories. And yes, you will end up losing weight. It's more about being strong and fit and healthy as we age than it is the number. Don't worry about the number. The number will take care of itself. This has been Dr. Jake Schmitz with another Freedom Health Talk on Open Range. I hope this helped. Let me know if you have any questions. There's my email. I love you guys. Until we meet again, stay awesome and keep working. Peace out.
Now you can have the personalized forecast at your fingertips when you need it. Beck's exclusive Weather Insight is information tailored to you. Radar, weather alerts, forecasts, and videos. Download the free Weather on Beck News app. Search your app store now.
Hey y'all, it's Trent on the loose. Join me on the trip and unearth the stories on how we maintain a domestic supply of food and fuel for future generations of American citizens like our forefathers did.
Hi, I'm Scott Hennon, host of the What's on Your Mind program on Beck TV now. From Baker, Montana to St. Cloud, Minnesota, and everywhere in between. We're looking forward to having a conversation with you about what matters most. We're talking to newsmakers, from members of Congress to the state legislature, and most importantly, the good folks that make up the great state of North Dakota, South Dakota, Minnesota, Montana. Every single day, you get a chance to tell us what's on your mind. And now you can watch What's on Your Mind live on Beck TV. Tune in 10 a.m. live for What's on Your Mind.
We are ladies of another view. Join us every weekday morning at 9 o'clock a.m. as we discuss the big topics from North Dakota, the nation, and around the world.
We chat with everyone from celebrities and medical professionals to politicians, local business owners, and neighbors about the topics and stories that affect all of us.
We are unscripted and uncensored real news from real people. So join us every weekday morning for Ladies of Another View on Beck.
At the heart of every small town are the people that live there and the businesses that serve them. From sporting events to 4-H, Lions clubs to hospital foundations, Bassett Motors has worked for the past 23 years to make sure the heart of its area small towns continues to be the people. With over 15 employees, Bassett Motors prides itself on small town service with personal attention. Bassett Motors, where our customers send their friends.
Welcome to Arrowhead Cleaners. Newly renovated, modernized, and ready to make your cleaning needs hassle-free. From commercial and residential wash and fold laundry services to the latest in professional dry cleaning techniques, we are dedicated to your unique needs, offering alterations, fabrications, and even custom hat making. So whether you're a busy professional, a family on the go, or even a rodeo champion, Arrowhead Cleaners is here to take your things from messed up to dressed up. Now celebrating our 64th year in Arrowhead Plaza.